It was the winter of 1995 in Beijing. The night air was bitterly cold. A thick fog crawled through the empty streets, swallowing the streetlights one by one. Most of the city was already asleep, but one bus was still running. Bus 375, the last bus of the night. At exactly 11:40 p.m., the old green bus slowly pulled out of the depot. Inside were only a few passengers. The driver, Mr. Chen, had been driving night routes for almost 20 years. Beside him sat the young conductor, Lin, who occasionally checked tickets and stared out the window to stay awake. At the back of the bus sat a quiet man in a long coat. Near the middle was a tired office worker, his head resting against the window. And near the front sat an old woman holding a worn cloth bag tightly in her lap. The bus moved deeper into the dark streets. Stop after stop, passengers got off until only a few remained. By the time the bus reached the outskirts of Beijing, the fog had grown thicker. The road ahead looked like it disappeared into nothing. Then the bus approached a stop that almost nobody used anymore. The street light above it flickered weakly, and under it stood 3 figures. The driver slowed down. The conductor leaned forward, squinting through the fog. "Are those people?" she whispered. As the bus doors opened with a loud hiss, 3 men stepped inside, or at least 2 of them stepped inside. The third looked unconscious. The 2 men were holding him by the arms, dragging him between them. Their clothes looked strange, long, dark robes that seemed completely out of place for the freezing weather. Their faces were pale, too pale. The conductor felt a strange chill as she collected their fare. None of them said a word. They quietly walked to the back of the bus and sat down. The bus continued moving. For several minutes, nobody spoke. The only sound was the low hum of the engine and the faint rattle of the windows. Then suddenly, the old woman near the front stood up and started shouting, "You thief! Give it back!" Everyone turned. She was pointing directly at the university student sitting beside her. "You stole my wallet!" The student jumped up in shock. "What? I didn't take anything." "Yes, you did," she screamed. "I saw you." The driver sighed in frustration and pulled the bus to the side of the road. He didn't want trouble on his last trip. "Both of you get off the bus," he said firmly. "Solve your problem outside." The student protested, but the driver wouldn't listen. The doors opened. Reluctantly, the old woman and the student stepped out into the freezing fog. The bus doors closed, and bus 375 slowly disappeared into the darkness. The student turned to the old woman angrily. "Why did you lie about me stealing your wallet?" The old woman looked around nervously. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I had to." The student frowned. "What do you mean?" Her hands trembled as she spoke. "When those 3 men got on the bus, I noticed something." The student stared at her. "What?" The old woman's face turned pale. "I looked down at their feet." She paused. They weren't touching the floor. The student's stomach tightened. They were floating. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then the old woman grabbed his arm. "We need to go to the police." They rushed to the nearest police station and told the officers everything. At first, the police thought the story sounded ridiculous, but something about the old woman's fear felt real. So they tried contacting bus 375. No response. They called again. Still nothing. The bus never reached its final stop. By morning, the authorities began searching for it, but the bus was gone, completely vanished. Days passed. Then 3 days later, a shocking discovery was made. The missing bus had been found, but not on the road. It was discovered deep inside a reservoir outside Beijing. When investigators pulled the bus from the water, the scene inside was horrifying. Only 2 bodies were found, the driver and the conductor. But the strangest part came during the investigation. The bus had run out of fuel, yet the fuel tank was not empty. Instead, it was filled with a dark liquid. When it was tested in the lab, the results stunned everyone. It wasn't gasoline, it was fresh human blood. Even more disturbing, the 3 mysterious passengers were never found. No records, no identification, no explanation. And to this day, people in Beijing still talk about the night midnight bus 375 disappeared into the fog. Some say if you wait at the right bus stop on the coldest nights of winter, you might see an old green bus slowly arrive with 3 silent passengers already sitting in the back, waiting for the next ride.